Ladies and gentlemen, October 2nd, 2024, I am Matt Bilinsky. This is your weekly dose of sanity, the prevailing narrative. Oh man, this week, my guest, a special individual, an icon of the internet, goes by the name The Fat Jew. His name is Josh Ostrovsky. Believe it or not, I knew him from his pre-internet fame days back in New York, but he lends an interesting, a fascinating perspective on just so much stuff because, one, he might have been the first person who was truly, in a commercial sense, famous on the internet and was able to monetize that in any discernible way whatsoever. And now that we're about, I always say this, people forget how recent the internet economy sprung up, that until about really it's the 2012-13 range, anything that was happening on the internet, it operated at, one, a much slower pace, and two, there wasn't necessarily that many dollars and cents around it other than a variety of e-commerce companies and websites that were making a lot of money. But the idea of an individual person making a lot of money and being online and creating content online as a career is a relatively new phenomenon. Yet so much of culture filters through those channels in this day and age. And so I think, The Fat Jew has a unique perspective on how that's evolved, where it is now, and what online culture and creators online, what place that they hold and what impact they have on modern culture. He is also the first person to go on record, at least publicly, on what was always an unspoken secret, which is a lot of rumors and a lot of controversy around the activities of Sean Combs' P. Diddy, that is now obviously coming to a head with his arrest and his prosecution for essentially the claim running somewhat of a criminal enterprise. But really what the claims are is that he used so many aspects of his business, of his world, his handlers, executives at his company, personal staff, whatnot, to intimidate, coerce, and threaten and even harm people involved in a lot of activities in his world. And a lot of them were sexual, and the descriptions of these sex parties that he had, and apparently what his thing was, what got his rocks off was finding male prostitutes or male porn stars and involving them in sexual activities that he either observed, literally directly from the indictment, claiming that he sat there and watched and masturbated to these male, as they're called in the indictment, male commercial sex workers having sex with women, many of whom I believe he was intimately involved with as well. That and some other sordid activities and claims that it was kind of an open secret. If you were in LA or New York, these were talked about very often. The notion that, at least the claims that P. Diddy had sex with male rappers just to kind of show his power over them or otherwise gain compromising information and material about them, was into some freaky stuff. And this stuff has all come to a head over the past 12 months and really over the last month with his arrest. And so between that and I think a lot of revealing stuff about what the reaction was to the Fat Jew being the first person to mention anything, seeing what he saw at a P. Diddy party in Miami probably about 15 years ago. He mentioned this on a radio interview and on a podcast about 5-6 years ago, and everyone was like, oh wait, someone finally mentioned this publicly, stuff that everybody's been talking about behind closed doors. He was the first person to say it publicly, and that all now in 2024 is coming to a head. So we get into a lot of stuff about Diddy, not just about the actual case, but about the kind of culture and understanding of where he placed and how people discuss this in the worlds that he occupied, and these other kind of open secrets of and who else might potentially be involved. And also I get his perspective on, as I said, how the world of being an influencer, being an online content creator, and how we interact, how audiences interact with famous people and with content online. What does he see? How do we see that evolving? What are observations that we can make and how that might impact things or be an indicator of the culture more broadly? So the first guy, this was the first guy to really make a business out of being famous on the internet. Now that's a big part of if you're a young kid and you are projecting out how you want to make a living, what your future may or may not look like. This is the guy that kind of set a bit of the template and the blueprint for how that is done. So we get into, he's got for whatever comedic stylings we might put onto this, he's got some really unique insights about how that operates and its place in the larger American culture. So Josh Ostrovsky, the Fat Jew, coming up in just a moment on the Prevailing Narrative. He's alternatively been known as the King of Brunch, the lead MC at Team Facelift, but I like to call him, refer to him as the George Washington of the influencer economy and possibly my creative director, Josh Ostrovsky, the Fat Jew. So thank you so much for joining us.
So much for having me. I'd like to be introduced as Patrick Jewing, whatever. It doesn't matter.
Patrick Jewing, have you been using that one historically?
Patrick Ewing, Juther Vandross. There's a really Jews in Sarandon, Stanley Tucci. I mean, it's just the list. Goes on.
You've got an entire reservoir, an entire bag of that, and you've only pulled it out on occasion when it has the most value, clearly, in a circumstance like this. Before we get to one other Black sexual icon and my potential transition to a goth lifestyle and aesthetic, there's another Black sexual icon that we need to discuss because you were just ahead of the game. Everyone seems to forgot about this guy. Wood, a.k.a. Wardy Joubert III, a.k.a. the large Black man with a large Black penis that was in all those memes that were getting floated around the pandemic. And just to take a little, a revert through history back to the pandemic moments, I'm sitting there in the heat of the moment when anyone's tossing around these big Black penis memes everywhere. And of course, you of all people DM me, oh, by the way, I know who this guy is and I'm talking to his brother.
Right. Great.
Have you developed a relationship with his brother?
Yes. And actually, things took a completely unexpected turn.
Let's hear it.
So Wardy Joubert's brother, when I started speaking to him, it was all just like, he was trying to figure out like, oh, can we monetize this? Like people are putting it on mugs, hats. He was surprisingly down to like, and I think he thought I was going to help with that, which was fine. Cause he was like, people are putting it on Etsy. I think I should be making money off of it. Great.
You are the George Washington of the influencer economy. So his instincts were right.
Anyone is going to make like some big pumpernickel baguette mugs, I'm going to be big. Well, first of all, one thing you have to remember, and first of all, just, God bless his soul. I mean, I hope he's with Paul Walker, in a Mitsubishi Eclipse, like Tokyo drifting across a cloud. The question is one, does everyone know that his dick is not actually as big as it was?
Right? Yeah. That is a photoshopped aspect of the.
Now, let me be clear. His dick is fucking huge. It's literally. Like, I'm comparatively, obviously, to like a rock shrimp having Jewish guy. But comparatively to anyone, he has a big dick, but they photoshopped it to make it extra Pringles candy, which I can understand. So as I spoke to his brother, it went from monetization into kind of like personal shit. And then I think he really started trusting me. And then what I found out was that he is fucking Wardy Joubert's wife.
Wait, what? Holy shit.
Just drop that live on this podcast.
You're making news. We're making newsworthy content right now. Okay, to run this back.
And he said to me like, oh, we've been DMing or, we've been doing stuff. I can trust you, right? And I said,
sure.
No, you should not. Absolutely. He was like, I'm saying like, you're my boy now. I said, Doug, you need to understand who I am.
Doug. Yeah.
It's a horrible idea. Do not tell me anything. So because I will immediately talk about it on a podcast.
Yeah, or 3.5 years later on Matt Bilinsky's podcast.
Exactly. No, this is the first time I've really ever told this story.
This is this is where it needed to happen. All kind of frontline Wardy Joubert, big Black guy with the penis in the meme news needs to be disclosed on this podcast. Thank God.
I'll only talk about it in this forum. This is the only where I can be the Wolf Blitzer of Wardy Joubert Black Dick content. So he invited me to come hang out. That was probably 6 months ago. Scheduling hasn't worked, but I am planning on doing a hang. And I don't know if we're going to go to Benihana or what we're going to do.
Benihana's where it needs to happen. We get here. You're taking him, get him to LA. This has got to happen on the West Coast. Okay. It's not a Miami thing. We're going to get to your Miami travels and travails. This needs to be in LA. I mean, the only Benihana left is in Encino. And it's the only.
He's in New Orleans,
really?
Which could also be
that could be interesting. Absolutely. Are there any Benihanas in New Orleans is the question.
Is there a Benihana in New Orleans?
Let's listen. I don't have Jamie like Joe Rogan does, but hold on. Benihana.
Incredible question.
Yeah, exactly. I can't believe we haven't already investigated this.
Can't believe I know this. This is embarrassing.
Yeah. You should know where Benihanas are worldwide. Not seeing it. Do not think Steve Rocky Aoki has blessed the New Orleans, the Louisiana Purchase, the French territory.
Honestly, shout out to all the Aokis. Although they have like the Aokis have like a family war, like Game of Thrones thing going on.
Something's going on. Yeah.
Yeah, certain siblings, like there's warring factions. Devin and Steve.
Yeah,
are warring.
every like super popular niche restaurant, like In-N-Out, Zanku Chicken, they all have these weird families behind them that have like total Game of Thrones family controversy. And you know, in another lifetime, it would have been there would be more justice in the world if you were a New York rich kid because of one of those families, one of those chain restaurant empires, instead of just an immigrant dad who happened to be a doctor.
Yeah, instead of just my dad being a radiologist. Fuck you, Dad. Although, and it does say it's my Instagram bio, my mom did fuck Shel Silverstein, and I have often gotten drunk at family events and just been like, why can't you be Shel Silverstein? Like screaming at my dad.
Yeah, it was so close. You were, instead of being like, instead of having, some sort of generational wealth in a boring manner and get to be a private school twat for no reason whatsoever, could have been with a little more jazz.
Totally. I'd be so much fucking swarthier. Also, Shel was a Jew, but I mean, you would think he had sort of a hummus cannon, if you will.
Well, your mom would know.
Well, I'm just saying, and I obviously, her vagina is where the sidewalk ends. It's what we're all thinking. Well, my mom's vagina is a light in the attic. We're all thinking it. So, a chain restaurant with some drama, Shel Silverstein, it all could have been better for me. Instead, it's a bunch of Jew physicians.
Instead, you're right here as Matt Bilinsky's creative consultant. Okay, and we're going to get to a lot of stuff about you being the kind of, once again, the front lines of the world of influencers and it becoming a business and going from just people screwing around on the internet and this whole thing called Instagram to just a multi-billion-dollar economy around it. But you also, and not just the first guy to know who the name, the real identity of the big black dick guy is, you were possibly the first public figure to go public to reveal something that was talked about behind closed doors a lot in terms of shady activity, sexual activity going on around Puff Daddy. Because I can tell you, even back in the 2000s, if you're just a random person in LA or New York who happens to know famous people who happens to know other famous people, a lot of people were kicking around these rumors of, Puff Daddy is the sexual deviant and he has sex or he bangs some of the guys on his label just to show them who's boss, or possibly to get, I don't know, just as some sort of tyrannical hierarchy thing, or perhaps to get compromising material on him. And then you happen to be the first person to really publicly mention that you saw something to that effect. And tell me, this was on a radio interview that they then that at least Puff Daddy's people then convinced the radio station not to air?
Right. So first of all, being like in a giant adult baby, like clown Muppet, in this case, hurt me because every time I told the story, people were like, he's being crazy. He's telling a story. Like, I don't know. He's a crazy.
Doing a shtick. Yeah.
And I was, no, I'm being really serious. Like, why is no one fucking trying?
Why would you mention it? There are 8,000 other things that you could create. You do that all day long. You create interesting, kooky little scenarios or asides. And why would you create one about Diddy fondling a man?
Totally. So I tell the story on a podcast. Okay. And it was a rap-based podcast that had a pretty decent following. So, so the story, and there are some parts to this story which I have never told before, because the part where he tries to actually have me kind of killed is very real. And I think people are going to be like, is it real? Like, did he really try to kill you? But the way it goes is that I'm in Miami. I'm at a Black Excellence party.
Which year? I'm a historical guy. Which year?
This is 2000 and what year did Get Him to the Greek come out?
About 2010.
Okay, so this is probably 2009.
Okay. Oh, wow. Okay.
So I'm at a party on Star Island. I'm with the DJ. It's like a hot black people party. Everyone smells incredible. I'm like there. I have a giant afro and I'm wearing like a kimono that's open. Like people are on some like, whose man is this? Why did the DJ bring this fucking moron? I take every drug that's put into my hand and I now wandering around trying to find a bathroom. I'm on an ecstasy. And I'm opening doors because I don't know where I am or what's going on. There's like 7 foot tall, like Zimbabwean models just like roaming around. And
Sure.
And I'm opening doors and I walk into a room and it's just like all people laying around. It's like a sexual salon. And like, it's very like, it's very like people being fed grapes. Like that's not happening.
Right.
But that
cuddle puddle, but more with a layer of perversion, not just a cuddle puddle, not just some white tech executives who decided to get everybody high on ketamine and try to have a pseudo spiritual experience.
Totally. So this is different. And so I look and I see, and Diddy is spooning, and they are fucking spooning. Like, he is like touching his face. Like, me and the fellas get real gay on boys' night, but like that I've never done. And honestly, it was incredibly gay and awesome. I got rushed. The bouncer like ran up because everybody looked at me because I was like, oh, is this like the bathroom? Bouncer like rushes me. Everybody's like, oh, who's the fucking, who's the guy with the afro? Who's the white guy with the afro? And Diddy and I make eye contact. He sees me. I see him. He knows I know. I know he knows I know. He knows I know he knows. And so that happens. I get kicked out. I'm like, holy fucking shit. Like, I think I just saw something really, really crazy. Like, I don't think anyone is up on like what's going on. Like, I was not supposed to be in that room. That was some black glitterati shit that I am not invited to.
Okay, were you one? All right, let's walk this back. How did you end up at that party?
I ended up at the party because I came with the DJ was going to a party at Star Island, and he was like, do you want to come with me? And I was in Miami at the time, and I was like, yes, I want to come to like one of these Diddy parties, because I never went to a white party in the Hamptons. And even at that time, I knew that like a Diddy party, that things got very fucking loose. And I was just like, let's make some memories.
Okay, so there is, and this, in trying to analyze, and we're going to get a little bit into why we think this is happening, why we think this is happening now. But, and this is what a lot of people are saying who are coming to Diddy's defense, and what they're anticipating his defense is going to be, that, hey, this is just normal stuff that famous people do, and rich famous celebrities sometimes take advantage of their sexual access and having a lot of cool people around and do some perverted stuff. However, obviously, where does that go from you're skiing on a black diamond to you're skiing off track, right? One, obviously, and let's just be honest, if you've got these supposedly straight male celebrities doing sexual stuff with other men, that's newsworthy. And two, where does it go beyond that it's almost structured, that you are either one, coercing, intimidating, or finding other unsavory means to get people involved in that, or that people after the fact that might have initially participated in it, you start doing a little post-production with them, and all of a sudden they wanted the orgy to be a nice, couple hour late night phenomenon, and all of a sudden you're pressuring them to get involved in other stuff, and that seems to be what has gone on here.
Yeah, I mean, it was no secret to me even prior to that party that like Diddy used to fuck Usher, but to me it was always fucking cool.
Really?
It was very like David Bowie and Mick Jagger. Like, when you get to the point where you can have sex with any woman on the planet, you've been there.
I don't know if I've been there, but I've suspected other people may have.
Right. And you get to that level, and which very few men are. It's rarefied air, where then it's like, I'm just going to start fucking men because like I've had enough of this. Like, I can I at least think I can have sex with any woman. So let's fuck some guys. And honestly, always been my dream. So it's like that was a known thing to me, but them protecting that, I think, was real, and no one had spoken about it. So I go on this podcast and I tell the story, and it comes out, and it gets back to his management. And the girl who works for him, she's sort of like she was like a handler at the time. She calls me, okay, and she's like, listen, I heard the podcast. I need you to say that you were joking. I need you to walk it back. It's you're a funny guy, you're being crazy, you're telling wacky stories, but like LOL JK. And I was like, absolutely not. I was like, I saw it, and like, fuck that. So, she keeps pressuring me, and like, that fine. That was like, that's just his management exerting some pressure on me. Then you alluded to earlier is I go on Hot 97 and I tell the story on a morning show. Now they always have me on a pre-tape because they know I'm going to say some completely out of pocket shit. And like, they're not trying to get fired. So they put me on a tape delay, and I tell the entire story. Obviously, this is going to be a much wider audience than that one little podcast. And so we get done with the interview, and Ebro Darby from Hot 97 Morning Show, he was like, took me in a hallway and was like, in my fucking, on some, yo, I'm not going to run this. And I was like, why? Like, what's the difference? And he was like, dog, you don't understand what you're getting yourself into. And I was like, listen, you need to understand, I want Diddy to like hurt me or murder me for my Wikipedia. This is going to look incredible on my Wikipedia.
You're doing it all for the juice.
Oh, exactly. So, and he's on some like, he's like, dog, like you don't want to do this like ridiculous performative shit because I'm telling you, this man is fucking violent. He's dangerous. He had someone blow up Kid Cudi's car over like some sort of spat that isn't nearly as big of a deal as you outing him as being gay. So like, you need to fucking chill. And I was like, dude, you're being such a hoe. Like, let me kill me. Like, what do you care? And I guess and that's when things kind of went to the next level. And the part that I've never really talked about before is that after that happened, I got a text message from Guy Gerber. You know Guy Gerber?
Yeah, right. yeah. Because Guy Gerber, also everyone forgets, had a collaboration with Diddy.
Exactly. So I get this text from Guy Gerber, and like, I don't fucking know Guy Gerber. I don't know anyone who knows Guy Gerber.
Just assume that send the Jew to talk to the fat Jew.
Totally. So he hits me up and he's like, he's like, I don't know. He's like Israeli, I guess, or it's like, I'm, in my mind, he's like, what's up, baby? Like sexy. Yeah.
Usual Israeli stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. It's Israel guy stuff. So he texts me and he's like, I want to invite you to this music festival. And I'm going to fly you private and you're going to come out and it's this festival we're doing it's international and I'm going to fly you internationally private and you're going to be my guest and everything's free. And I'm like, what the fuck is it? And like, and he's like, and then I'm like, is this a spawn thing? Am I supposed to post it? Like, what are you trying to get?
Yeah,
and he's like,
what's happening here?
He's like, baby, no. You fly out here and we like live life. And I'm like, this is sus as fuck. So I don't understand why it's happening. And then I put it together. Diddy is puppeteering Guy Gerber to get me out to the desert to like, I don't know. I don't know how that ends. So then I thought about going like purposely for the fucking story.
Sure.
And then people convinced me, I have a small inner circle of people that I go to bring these ideas who like are actually care about my well-being and my health. They were like,
last line of defense.
Yeah. Like you really need to not, they've talked me out of so many horrible choices and I didn't go, but it really just goes to show that between, his effect on, having his management come at me, sending people, invite me to the desert to fucking, I'd like to imagine that he was going to like butt fuck me to death under the sun, like at dawn, but who knows? Like, I don't know what's going to happen, but it just goes to show you that his ability and his desire to suppress information coming out, and he was willing to spare no. And I'm not. Imagine if it was like not a Z-list celeb. Imagine if it was a fucking A-list celeb coming out with that.
Well, it would seem the retort to that would be the other A-list celebs are within whatever this circle of understanding is that you don't do this stuff, right? That it would need to be someone a little alternative like yourself because everybody else knows the rules of the game. Right, that they might have dirt on themselves or whatnot. But I mean, it's also interesting, and not to to get into some of the specifics, because obviously, I think that your perspective and what the reaction or your experiences haven't been the first person to shine light on this are relevant to it. But a lot of what the indictment against Diddy was about intimidating and coercing and utilizing, and what they have this racketeering charge, why they're claiming bringing the same charges against P. Diddy as they would Tony Soprano, is that this supposed criminal organization is that he was using people within his orbit, his handlers, executives at Combs Enterprises, things of that nature, to try to coerce or buy people's silence. And that's where maybe that's where the gray area comes in, where you pursue a lot of aggressive appetites, right? Sexually, you've seen. Listen, man, Cassie revealed one of the videos in 2018. P. Diddy just staring over, saying, "What now, bitch?" and something like that. I was like, all right, this is clearly a guy who mistreats lots of people. He's like kind of psycho tyrannical. But even if it's stuff is not just that overtly illegal, if it looks bad, but then you're using these certain tactics to buy or influence people's silence, like that's also bad. That also does give it kind of strike people as the activities of a criminal enterprise, and like he was so used to being able to get away with that like that's probably why he thought he was impenetrable.
This was a reaction. This was a reaction to a secondhand story. This was a reaction to a guy who saw a thing. So imagine what he would do to a person who actually he did a thing to. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like what lengths he would go to. They also completely misread me because they were kind of kept like trying to like strong arm me, but like You know, I'm the fat Jewish. I'll take a check.
Yeah, 100%, bro.
Like, where was
what they were going to try to buy you off? Yeah, the ultimate guy who has a prize. You're the number one. You're the George Washington of social media influencer whores. Like, obviously, you're the fucking Linda Lovelace.
I've done so much worse for money than silence myself about
within
Diddy.
The last 24 hours.
Literally, like actually yesterday. So there's
Absolutely.
not late last night. So there's not, you know, for me, it's like now everybody's coming and being like, oh shit, he knew. Blah, 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 blah. And now, like, some, like, woman from Lisbon is making a documentary, some woman who won an Oscar, and I'm, like, going to be in it. Although, the only thing I really wanted to do was to be in the 50 Cent documentary, Did He Do It? Which is, like, obviously such a fucking incredible name. Have
you connected with his people?
No one's reached out. And so that's...
Okay, I can connect you.
Okay, that's the only thing I want to be in. And I think the biggest... First of all, right, they're hitting him with the Frico charge, as it's being known. They're hitting him with the Frico. And, you know, I think one of the biggest questions for me, obviously, beyond all of the, you know, all this shit that's happening, but beyond 1,000 bottles of lube.
Yeah.
Beyond all of that.
If you got so much lube, you're even making the fat Jew blush. That's a lot of lube.
That's a lot of fucking lube. The real question, though, for me, at the heart of all this, not, you know, is did he fuck Carl Winslow? Like, did he fuck Carl Winslow? Because Reginald Bell Johnson, Carl Winslow, is like hardlining no. But here's the thing: who came up with that? If that's not
no. Here's I think it's like a Reddit thing, because there's been a lot of just random freelance rumors about Carl Winslow's sexuality, and I think people. Okay, but that's another interesting dynamic here. Everybody in the rap community, and you know, let's be honest, kind of. If you're observing things, everybody in the African-American celebrity community now has to either account for or have a public statement on, did they attend Diddy parties? What's their view on Diddy? And what are your thoughts on being part of like nightlife and Hollywood glamour in the 2000s and 2010s? Like literally everyone, all these, The Breakfast Club, all these other kind of either NBA or black culture or hip hop podcasts, everybody who's involved in that world now has to be, wait, did you go to the Diddy parties? What did you see at the Diddy parties? What can you be accused of at the Diddy parties? Literally this entire community of African-American celebrities all has to account for have a take on this or have some personal statement on it. It's really wild.
Yeah, no, it is wild, because you know why? Because it's a lot of it is about being gay. A lot of it is it's a huge fucking deal. There's
a lot. They call it on the down low in the hip hop community, and there's a lot of them.
It's endless. Every one of our favorite rappers and every one of our favorite basketball players fucks men, and it's incredible. And the fact that they can't fly free and be who they are, like, why do you think Kevin Durant has such a bad attitude? That is a closeted gay man full of rage. And if he could just be himself, he would be so happy. I want him to live his truth so bad. But I'm telling you, like people, all these guys are fucking dudes, and like I just can't wait for the day when we can celebrate that, because it's fucking beautiful and it's not okay in their community.
Well, you know, I think I don't know if it's being celebrated right now, but that if we're looking from the fallout, that is it. It is another one. It's almost like the Menendez thing, right? It was an open secret that so many the American upper class in the 80s, so many kids were the victims of sexual abuse. It's like it was an open secret that a lot of rappers are involved in this type of stuff, and now it's kind of, I mean, Cat Williams of all people, the fucking calling his shot. I mean, Nostradamus Cat Williams early in 2024 saying it's all going to get revealed this year, and apparently it is. But obviously, so you're obviously revealing that your view that this happens much more prevalently than people suspect.
Well, one thing people are not going to be talking about, which you will appreciate, and is not a piece of goss on a mass scale, but people who listen to your show might appreciate that Luke Walton used to fuck Kareem Rush.
What? Whoa! Yeah, that's a mic drop right there.
And they owned a house together in Rancho Cucamonga. Supposedly.
Listen, I am not speaking to the accurate truth. That this is just what is being alleged from my associate, the Fat Jew. Okay, that is a rumor that supposedly was floating around. Who'd you hear that one from?
Love if they to me those were two kings. You know what I mean? Two kings hand in hand, and that would be beautiful. But that one's not. That one's not talked about enough. I don't think
that's not talked about at all, man. I didn't see that one coming. All right, good to know we've got some Lakers information on this episode, but I'm not speaking to the truth or veracity of that one. Just a rumor, but apparently that is one. There is information floating around about that one. That you're right. People on the listeners of this podcast are always looking to be up top on Lakers information. But who else in the hip hop community? I mean, everyone's talking about who's going to be on the tapes. Who, in your opinion, do you think has to worry about being on the tapes?
I don't know. I mean, I think a lot of, I mean, look, there's two, I mean, what people actually need to be worried about is like, you know, whatever mistreatment, coercion, and otherwise was involved with women, right? Like
sure.
that's
well, men as well, right? Men as well, right? Because I think it seems when they're talking about in the indictment the term commercial sex workers as opposed to the non-commercial ones, right. Apparently his big thing was he was a cuck. He liked to fly in other male porn stars or male sex workers. God, what a fucking clown term. Anyways, male dudes who fuck for money in a commercial setting and have them fuck women in front of him, and he would masturbate or sometimes apparently participate in. That's what he got. That's how he got his rocks off. I mean, a lot of this, apparently the video of him beating and assaulting Cassie was an aftermath of a situation where he was having a threesome with her and a male prostitute. That's kind of the core of this entire controversy, is him wanting these women or pressuring these women to allow themselves to get fucked by male prostitutes. That's it.
Dudes who fuck other men in a commercial setting. Amazing name for a group chat. That's a sick name for a group chat. If anyone wants to use that with the fellas, you go right ahead.
Wait, how about this? My favorite, my best group chat name is the Michael Mancini Memorial Group Chat. Are you a Michael Mancini guy that he goes unspoken about in the relevant circles?
I have. Yeah, we could get into group. I pride myself on naming the chat. I so seriously. It is my craft. I'll sit there with something on the screen as I'm editing it, and I could spend days really trying to actually sculpt it to the perfect moment, because it's got to be. So I think this goes way deeper than people think. I think the black gay kind of glitterati scene, it's been highly guarded and highly protected. Now I think the whole thing is kind of looking to, make collapse on itself. Yeah. And everyone's going to run, and everyone's going to throw him under the fucking bus.
Yeah, because here's the thing. He's going to fight this thing. But there's no way for it. If he fights it, there's no way for this information not to get out, right? And this is why I don't think that there's, and also these people, the conspiracy theorists, that this whole notion that someone's actually at the top of the fucking Illuminati, that P. Diddy, I'm like, bro, who's above P. Diddy? Like, that is the guy. This is the powerful billionaire mogul. Like, there is nobody above him.
If there was a head of the black literati, and it wasn't Diddy, who would it be?
They're like, Lucien Grange or whatever from Humorous. Like, so just a really elderly music executive is the guy that's forcing P. Diddy to take the photo. Fucking buy it. No chance.
Right. Yeah, and look, I mean, this kind of stuff runs rampant. I mean, no one should ever want to think about what like David Geffen has been doing to men for the last 100 years.
Barry Diller, I hear Barry Diller was even crazy because Geffen at least was out of the closet. Diller was in the closet.
Right.
Speaking of a guy, I knew there were these. I worked for a minute or two right out of law school. I worked for this company where one of the main guys was another undercover gay guy, but it was like hidden in plain sight. Lou Pearlman always had these pretty boys right off the bus coming to Hollywood to try, and he'd always lie to them, exaggerate his stature in the film industry to try to, I'm sure you can imagine what he was trying to do to them. And he had these two pretty boy twin friends that were tennis players. And I remember a bunch of photos got revealed of like those two pretty boy tennis players just like topless in Saint-Tropez with Barry Diller and a bunch of other old elderly gay men. And it was like, this stuff goes on constantly.
This stuff is constant. Scott Rudin will literally throw a scalding hot thermos of coffee into a twink's face, into the face of a hairless otter, and then butt fuck him to death. Like, literally, this shit has been going on. And honestly, it's good to expose, but being that it's happening in the black community, it takes on even a different thing because it's all so unspoken. It's all so taboo that it's taking on a whole extra level of intensity. And Actually, you know what's is there any veracity to the story that he is in any kind of bunkmate situation with SBF? Does anyone?
No, but they're not direct bunkmates. I think they're in the same wing. There's an exclusive VIP wing, obviously, and it's really, they claim that it's because these people need protection because they'd be in trouble. Well, I guess it's true. It's not out of the question that these people would be in trouble if they were with the general population. But you take the famous people and you stick them in one wing.
Here's the thing to think about also with that is, I don't know how much you know. Do you know about the Mac economy?
No.
So the Mac economy is a prison economy in that the most valued thing you could buy previously in prisons was cigarettes. But as cigarettes have become completely not part of the system. I mean, they are
the inmates are smoking
as contraband. Yeah, but you can't buy them in the commissary, and you can't buy them commissary anymore. Mm-hmm. What the most expensive thing in the commissary is that became the thing of most value to trade on the prison market was mackerel, tinned, canned mackerel.
What?
So SBF, who's obviously got a ton of money coming into his shit from his parents, and so he can buy what he needs, has apparently, which I don't even think is sort of that much different than when he got arrested for it. He's basically hoarding all of the mackerel, bought all the mackerel, and he is using it to trade across all types of things. Prison. He's getting sick. He's getting haircuts. He's getting all kinds. The guy can get anything he wants. So I like to imagine that it's Diddy, SBF in a cell that's full of tinned fish. That's really, and they're bawling with the tinned fish.
Yeah. They've got quite a racket, a whole tinned mackerel racket going on between SBF and P. Diddy.
The Mac economy is very, very real. Like it's
no doubt.
That Mac is apparently it's fucking gold in there. I mean, I don't know. Look, do I wish Diddy had killed me? Yeah, I genuinely really do, and I really mean that. I know people are like, "Oh, it's like so performative," but
you're not, because there's no chance you ever go in as interesting a way as that is. Like, however you go, you would really have to one of that otter that that Scott Rudin banged is gonna have to bang you to death to go as interestingly as P. Diddy killed me because I revealed that I caught him spooning with a dude.
I have to I don't. God, you can
the bar is high.
Help me come up with some ideas, because honestly,
absolutely, we're going to spitball on this. Absolutely. Okay. So the mackerel economy. You now looking back on it, we're in 2024. We're probably about 12 to 15 years into people engaging in hijinks on the internet and getting rich off it. Off this being a way that people make money, it being their career, and you've seen it start to finish because you were, if you're not the first guy, you were the first wave of that guy who just happened to be on the internet. People were interested in your antics, and you developed an audience, and then found a way to make money off it. Obviously, there's a broad question, but what have you seen? How have you seen the evolution beyond just wanting to go punch the Nelk boys in the face of this economy, and and how it's evolved?
I mean, I think there was a beautiful moment where you could make money on it, but it hadn't turned full Black Mirror, full dystopian Black Mirror. And I don't know when that moment was. Maybe it was probably about 8 or 9 years ago. But I think that there was, in the beginning, there was some joy in just doing it to do it, right? I'm old enough that I started on Manhattan Public Access, and we had a show, a bunch of fucking, lobotomized, 20-somethings had a show where we were, running around doing manginas and being in the streets of New York, doing ridiculous shit. And there was no money in it. It was really just for the look. It was just for the people. And I think I came into social media with that kind of mindset of just I'm doing this for my friends, to embarrass my family, to ruin my family's name. It wasn't about money. And I think approaching it like that gave it sort of kind of a wholesomeness that allowed me to kind of do cool shit. Everybody now, it's they're just approaching it as a job. There are literally now factories in China with 3,000 ring lights set up, and people are just influencer things. It's so fucking bleak. And so I think doing it for the love of the game, which, as ridiculous as that sounds, or just to get people's attention, that was really That was really my original goal.
Because that's kind of comedy, right? Because you were, when people talk about creators, in terms of being creative, yes, you were just a person who had interest in creative avenues, whether it be comedy, music, film, whatnot. And that's, instead of going, you weren't going to be a guy who was going to go audition for a guest role on Dawson's Creek. You were going to go ahead and try to express yourself in this way.
Who would I have played on? I would love to have played. I would love to have been in any type of character.
Vanderbeek, another buddy of mine. We'll reach out. We'll see. Maybe you're there for the reunion.
Totally. I said some wild shit to that guy. Really wild stuff. I was on stage. Remember that show that Diplo, and we'll talk about Diplo. Show Diplo had where James Vanderbeek played Diplo. At the launch party of that, I had put so much coke in my butt, and I saw James Vanderbeek, and I was like, I'm just going to say the absolute wildest shit to him. He was cool, but he was on some like, what is happening right now?
Yeah. No, the Beak's a good man. The Beak's a good guy. Met him through his wife. The Beak is he's got like 12 kids. He's established. He's got an entire. Yeah. No, he moved out to a ranch in Texas and has like 14 kids, and they wear like somewhat, frontier gear and whatnot. He's got like a family band. It's like the Osmonds or the Partridge Family, but without the music.
Children in chaps.
No, not from what I've noticed. But in terms of how this all of, also, you said on an interview that I saw maybe 2016, 2017, that we were reaching, that social media was on its death spiral because, Jesus Christ, there's just so much out there. But here's the thing, and let's be honest, like you weren't, maybe from an artistic perspective, you were correct that yes, there's no real art being, or is nothing interesting, actual quality being produced on the internet or by social media creators. However, in terms of attention and in terms of economics, it has been incorrect. The social media has not died. However, whatever you were projecting, that people didn't have enough aggregate attention to spread it out amongst all these different people creating content on the internet, that apparently has turned out to be not true. People have now just siloed themselves into these little niches where everyone's got like a little kind of a localized version of fame, and you can build a career off that. You can build an economy off that. But yeah, everyone's got their 15 favorite TikTok accounts that they watch, and half dozen reels, that they watch every week from people on Instagram. And people just, there's an endless appetite for consuming content on social media.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think you're right. I mean, but I also think in terms of the bubble popping, or in your estimation, not popping, I think you're really just looking at the W's. And for every fucking W, for every fucking micro influencer, nano influencer, large scale influencer, every fucking anyone you can think of, there are 1,000 stories of people who just like completely fucking blew it. Now, I'm not saying you have to go get a job. I was the original adult baby who was like, you can literally do whatever you want. I mean, don't even get me started on what my parents thought about what I was doing. Because we're talking about a guy from fucking Russia and like a fucking Jewish, like Upper West Side Jews being like, I think I said this to you before, they thought I was like a homosexual homicidal maniac who was like going to be.
And they weren't wrong, but yeah.
They were right about that. They didn't know it was monetizable.
Exactly.
And so I think when I said that stuff, I didn't want to feel like the guy in the room being like, you need to get a job. Like, don't. But I think a lot of kids now, this is the goal straight from jump. And look, 99.9% of them are not going to make it. And while everyone is out there trying to become like an absolute most niche fucking influencer, nobody can build a fucking road. Like like no one knows how to do fucking anything. Yeah. Literally, we are completely unskilled people who can we have no functional skills whatsoever besides kind of trying to harness the attention economy.
Yeah, no. That's what, hey, listen, it's what Peter Thiel says all the time. And he's like, listen, the only thing, all the technical innovation over the past 20, 30 years was about, delivering media and entertainment and information, which, I mean, listen, works out very well for certain people, but we're not living on Mars. We don't have, none of the stuff that you saw on the Jetsons actually is happening, or Back to the Future 2 or anything like that. It just happens to be that we can entertain everybody and inform, people can gain access to information and media constantly in every way, shape, or form. That's pretty much the only technological innovation of this century.
Totally. And I mean, honestly, when it comes to nano influencers, I mean, you're You're one of my favorites.
Thank you very much, man. I mean, your support's always is like, listen, if I'm appealing to the cream of the crop right now, I mean, Jesus Christ, I got to be more famous.
Well, listen, we'll talk about your brand. Obviously, I appointed myself a creative director. You did.
Well, you've earned the title. Yeah, you've got the credibility in that regard.
But here's it. I'm down. Like, if you follow your dreams, I want you to fucking, if you think that you can like get fucking famous, like reviewing matcha, like all over Eastern Europe. Do they have matcha in Eastern Europe? Probably not. Do they?
Eventually, I'm sure there are a couple gentrified towns in Eastern Europe.
There have to be, right?
Yeah, Belgrade's got some matcha. I don't know about God knows out where in the fucking countryside, but yeah.
There's actually. Oh well, this is a total aside, but I'm going to Vladivostok.
Okay.
Which is at the tip of Russia, all the way at the farthest tip of Russia, and it's right across it's like a little puddle jumper away.
What Russian oligarch is taking you there to perform in a diaper?
Dude, it's so sick. There are no laws. There are literally no laws. So we got set up with a fixer, and he was basically like, "You give me $10,000, like as a group, and you guys can do anything." And I was like, "What does that mean?" And he literally was like, anything. And I was like, so I said to him over WhatsApp, I said, what if I wanted to pistol whip someone in the street? And this was like a pure hypothetical. And he was basically like, I thought you said you wanted to do something crazy. And I was like, because like, I have no desire to pistol whip a man. But what apparently what you can do is like ride a horse into a nightclub. Apparently, just like you can do anything. I'm not trying to pistol whip a guy, but apparently I'm going to be able to do anything I want. And Russia in general, like in Moscow, they have like nightclubs where there's like the menu with like the drinks and the food, and then there's a secret menu for like shakes, darks. And on that menu, you can basically like for $1 million, you can burn the club to the ground. They will evacuate the club and you can burn it literally to the ground.
Might as well. Yeah. Right. Yeah. The owners for $1 million, like that's more than the owner's going to make over the next 10 years. So you might as well. Yeah. 100%. They've run the numbers on that. The place of Eastern Europe now in like a kind of quasi Frankenstein capitalist like phase where an Andrew Tate can go, I don't know. I guess as long as you keep your fucking mouth shut, it was like, listen, don't try to be a Romanian webcam pimp and a personal development guru. Like just stay, you choose one lane or the other. Trying to do both, you're headed for trouble as Tate.
By the way, no one is gayer than that guy.
Yeah.
That's the gayest guy ever. That is the gayest man who has ever lived.
Yeah, he's breaking records.
I mean, that is the oldest trope. Like the guy in high school was like, you know what we should do? We should tackle some slam pigs with our fuck sticks. And everyone was like, I'm like, dude, God, that's not really how dudes talk. Like, you're obviously gay. Like, actually says shit like that.
Yeah, you're play acting a straight guy.
Totally.
You're LARPing a straight guy.
He is the absolute most ridiculous version of that.
It's just trope. But the best is that where a lot of people, and this gets to another thing I want to ask you about, is also one of the first victims of so-called cancel culture, is that with a lot of people who are trying to cancel Tate over the last few years, and some of the Karens, I'm like, wait, you're focusing too much on this guy said this offensive thing. I was like, wait, if you want to expose this guy, if you want to knock this guy down, just let everybody know that the way that he made his money is being a Romanian webcam pimp. All he did was go he'd find some chick with 35,000 followers from Latvia, and I was like, okay, wait a second, you want to make more money, baby? Come to Romania. And then like kind of pressured them and kind of, facilitated them being webcam. That's how he made his money. Everyone's like, oh, kickboxer Andrew Tate. He didn't make all this money by kickboxing. He made this money from being a Romanian webcam pimp. He runs webcams out of a fucking compound from like Latvian girls that were raised in fucking dirt villages. Like that's how he makes his money.
Yeah, totally. And actually, this actually webcam ties into kind of back into the influencer thing in that I am worried about the kids in general because I don't think you should set out on a path to just become an influencer, and like we need someone to know how to like build things or like do things. But who I'm actually really worried about right now is OnlyFans girls, because the level of saturation. Like there are so many, and it's like I'm not telling like, girl, follow your dreams, move to Brickell, like into a sexy luxury condo, and like start building your OnlyFans empire.
Get that 11 condo, get the 11 condos. Yeah,
but it ain't gonna work because honestly, there's just too much supply. There's an ample supply, and unless you are, the only OnlyFans that I subscribe to is Rachel Dolezal. Because have you ever seen her OnlyFans?
I have not. I've seen one still photo. I've done everything in my power to avoid the action shots.
Was that the photo where she was gaping her asshole in front of a Christmas?
No, just the one. She's in some lingerie with it looks up because her face is so weird. Her head is so strange. It always looks like it's imposed on somebody else's body.
She jumped it off with her in front of a Christmas tree in a full sexy Mrs. Claus outfit in front of a giant painted portrait of Black Santa, which is incredible. And she is
you kidding me?
She is just gaping. She is and you can't see this, but she's holding her ass apart. And I was like, this is something that I will pay $9.99 a month for. But that's because I'm a Dolezal stan and because I own so much of her art and I'm supporting.
No. You want anyone who's playing transracial. That's it. Totally. You're on the transracial beat. This whole transgender thing, you're not on board. Transracial is where you make money.
No, it's real. It's very real. But the thing is, if you're just a girl with a kind of symmetrical face who looks sort of Latina, there's just too much comp. And you need to go to vet tech school. There's just too, I'm just worried about them because
but here's the thing, man. A lot of them are making money, man.
Yeah, but not
many.
But not compared to how many there are.
Okay, but I guess that's the thing. Both from whether you are a mildly attractive and morally loose and will trade your dignity for money female, or you are a kid, a somewhat ambitious young kid of Gen Z or whatever the following generation is going to be. When we were young, we both grew up in wealthy neighborhoods. You were at a private school, I was at a public school, so you probably knew more rich kids directly. But unless you had family money, for you to get rich as a young person, you knew a few people who might, an athlete or an actor, a person like lightning strikes, or every once in a while, someone who founded a company early and entrepreneurialism happened to them, a fucking software billionaire kid. But it wasn't something you could count on happening. So you weren't sitting there thinking, oh, wait, there's a potential jackpot right underneath my nose, and all I need to do is point the camera at my phone at my face and shoot. Now, if you're 15 and you're a kid that's sitting there grinding it in high school to get grades and get into a good college and get yourself on a good path, the amount of, or anyone from ages 15 to 28, so many other of your contemporaries that are making money or may have not attained wealth, but maybe wealth for a young kid or wealth for someone in their 20s just from being an influencer. It's how do you resist the temptation of going and trying to do it yourself as well?
I think the irony of me being the person to say this is that in some small way, I'm part of the problem, right?
Yeah, no, you're the originator of the problem, 100%. Yeah,
totally. There was a not now, because now they think I'm 150 years old. They think I'm Abraham Lincoln and fucking kids are coming to me on the street being like, yo, back in the day when I was a kid, I loved your shit. And I'm like, okay, swag God, the Jesus strip lord, I thank you, but you're calling me insanely washed. But the thing is there was a generation before them that was fully, that was at least in some small way, I don't know what my influence was look at this fucking Muppet, look at this moron. If this guy can do it, why can't I do it? And now I'm saying oh shit, I'm kind of like Oppenheimer. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you are. You are.
Then did the thing. Is that what happens in the movie? But then I'm warning everyone that it's bad. Is that what happens?
Yeah, Frankenstein's monster, the unleashed power of what you've created, whatnot. But hey, here's the other thing. I mean, who knows of what's going on in the Middle East over the last hour or so? But thus far, Oppenheimer's concerns have not materialized. But yes, giving people democratize, but it's not. A lot of people think about it as democratizing content. We've democratized wealth because there are more avenues to make money. But you've seen it. Do you see this weird one about these young crypto flaunt guys who live stream themselves stealing $230 million worth of Bitcoin and accidentally pointed their camera at the wrong part of the screen that doxed them and revealed their identity, and they had been buying Birkin bags for girls at clubs the last couple months in LA or New York and got arrested last week. It's almost like we're giving too many people hope. But the problem is enough people are capitalizing on that hope who are young and skipping so many steps of not having to pay their dues and obtaining wealth at an early age that it's convincing everybody else that you're going to just get a lot of failures. It's going to be a high failure rate.
The other thing that I really did that I wish people would focus more on was that is knowing how limited your window is. Like, how long is a fucking adult baby with a giant dildo on his head, who, like, fucking whatever, and like posts memes? How long is that going to be popular for? Like, I'm not fucking Matt Damon. Like, knowing that your window is short and creating something that will create value for you in the macro, because like only otherwise, like, you're disposable talent. Like, every 10 seconds someone is stepping in to replace you. That's why I started my wine company, because I was like, this cannot go on forever. There's no way that in a moment of like, we're in an attention economy of momentary tastes, that it actually went on for longer than I thought it would. Actually, we're into it for longer.
And so, were you ever burnt out on it?
Yeah, totally. It's a fucking like the content prison, like being in content Shawshank, like nonstop, being like, but I think I was old enough by the time I got into it to know that it was momentary, to know I had to create something of value, a brand that was beyond, just being a fucking giant, lobotomized idiot. And so I don't think kids are doing that. They're taking brand deals, but like, all of that will evaporate in a second. The brands don't give a fuck about you. Like, the minute you are not fucking the flavor du jour, you're fucking cooked. So if the kids are going to do this and they're going to fucking create these platforms, they're going to get famous, at least create something that can generate for you in the long term. Otherwise, the minute your time's up, you are fucking cooked. Look, I guess in the future, everybody gets their 15 minutes, but God, like, create something sick that can make the long term.
Well, that's going to be okay, because that was something that, like I said, I put these things in historical context. It was like 2016, when you said, hey, it's too saturated and it's dead. We hadn't seen whether or not people who built a following with real numbers behind it could multi-purpose that content. And it's like, as you said, some people can and some people can't, but clearly there are ways to do it. For instance, I had a friend that built a big social media following from being on TV. Once he was no longer on TV, he started becoming a DJ, and listen, for another 5-6 years, he's made very good money as a DJ. It can be done. But with the OnlyFans, now that it's so saturated, now that there are so many accounts that have large followings that are producing consistent content, and in some respects getting paid for that. I mean, we're still in the teenage years of social media, technically. Like, everyone forgets, Instagram only really took off about 2011, 2012. We're literally on 12 years in of everybody being inundated with photos and videos of everybody else nonstop all the time. This is a very recent phenomenon. It's like, what does year 20 look like? Trying to project forward in anything more than 24 months, is pretty wild to see. Imagine how this is going to evolve.
The simulation is fucking glitching, and I'm mixed, because part of me now is like trying to be the like adult elder statesman in the room, being
you're the oracle, bro.
Part of me is rooting for full fucking chaos, and for like, because like the whole thing, like the sun is going to explode anyway. Like, it's been a good run. Humanity's cooked anyway, so we might as well just all do whatever the fuck we want. So I'm like mid between those. So like, I love to see it, but then I'm also like, oh fuck. So there's a bunch of influencers and content creators who I interface with, because they think I'm fucking, they think I'm the wise fucking elder statesman. So
you were the first there, bro. You were early. Listen, if you're just like you now don't have to do that in order to sustain yourself. You realize to go build other more enduring assets and things like that. People get rewarded for being early, just like there are girls now who are on their year 10 or 12 of being fashion influencers. Like, they're nothing special, but listen, they started posting their fashion tastes on Instagram or Facebook in 2011. Listen, they benefit from that. We're going to have to see what the fallout is from a generation of kids that thought that had a tough time. It was tougher for them to sit and focus on doing something productive, because they had not 2 friends that got rich early. They had 20 friends that got rich early just from being influencers.
Look, I stay early on shit. I'm just going to say that. Like, I do. I was early on influencer. Honestly, you mentioned Team Facebook before, which most people do not know about me, which is we were a rap group. We were signed. But what's so interesting is, like, at that time, because like, now 2008 or 9 was like 1,000 years ago in internet years.
Yeah.
We were like the first guys rapping about like sucking each other off and like depression. Seriously, like, all this shit. And I was actually with a couple guys, and Tyler, the creator, was there. And I was like, yo, I'm never the guy. I don't want to be like, let me tell you about, like, I'm the OG, like back in the day. I hate that. I hate like old heads who do that. But I said to him, I was like, Tyler, I just want you to remember that I was the first guy rapping about like just like fucking all my like fucking dudes and depression and all the shit. Every rapper now, they all talk about this shit.
Yeah, they're all up in the fields.
So I was early on that. I was early on being an influencer. I'm early on some stuff.
You were also early on. Yeah, no, you were like I said, front lines. You were the first ever. It was an open secret. People were always talking about it. The rumor was that Diddy would have sex with the rappers on his label just to, one, show them who's boss, and two, to get compromising material on them. We'll see if any of that is what comes out. Because there's gonna be a whole trial with. He's fighting it. He didn't run off to St. Kitts, okay? Like, this is going to be a trial with witnesses and a lot more revealed about what went on at these parties. And once again, as I think it's going to be, it's not going to be Illuminati stuff. It's going to be more garden variety. This guy's just a very perverted guy who pushed it too far through a couple channels.
Also, no one was earlier than me on Luke Walton being in a couple with no one was earlier on that than me.
It is the first time I've heard that one, and I feel confident saying it's the first time anybody has publicly mentioned that one. Yes, you are very much early on the Lakers beat. You were also early on being the victim of cancellation, because this cancel culture thing, which appears to have be waning because the collective Karenness of society just ran out of steam over the last couple of years, I believe. But 2015, everybody started you'd only see a couple. The real George Washington of cancel culture was this woman, Justine Sacco, who was an exec.
I smoked weed with Justine Sacco.
Love it. Yes.
At Tulane, like 5 or 6 years before that, I smoked weed with her. Anyway,
before her cancellation.
Yes, when she was in.
Oh my God, you knew her in college?
I just like met her through some guys, and we ended up on a balcony together, like smoking weed and like me saying fucking weird shit to her. We're not friends, but like when that happened, I was like, oh my God,
that's wild.
No, because that story still gives me anxiety. Getting off a plane to like 850,000 text messages and like a fucking African news camera crew like coming at you in the airport is the all-time most anxiety-inducing thing.
Okay, to break it down for everybody listening, if you don't remember Justine Sacco, the first real social media pile-on, this marketing executive, she's like in marketing for some corporation. Justine Sacco tweets out some really just bad attempt at humor about flying to Africa and getting AIDS, that like white people wouldn't get AIDS. And the internet identifies this joke, and it just goes viral of everyone saying, oh my God, how dare this spoiled white woman say this offensive thing? Once she lands, we're all going to be piling on her and destroy her and ruin her career. And that's what happened. And that was kind of the genesis. That was the origination of cancel culture, that, okay, if someone does or says something offensive, the social media swarm, this entirety of shame can engulf this person and collectively punish them for this offensive thing that they did. But the first probably high-profile person who was already kind of famous who was the victim of this was kind of you, in that all of a sudden, after 6-7 years of being on social media and aggregating other funny jokes, memes, whatnot, everybody was shocked to find out that you didn't create all of these memes that you never claimed to have created in the first place, and they tried to cancel you based on supposed violation of ethics in comedy, plagiarism, and then people obviously playing the racial angle that, oh, this white Jewish guy stole these jokes from these creators and comedians of color and whatnot. And it just seemed like the most ridiculous thing. I was like, bro, you never claimed to be anything other than what you were, which is kind of a goof off who finds cool, funny stuff on the internet.
Totally. I mean, comedians are just fucking dweebs. Like the new age ones, I don't really know, but the ones who at the time were older than me, like these Gen X crusty ass comedians, like the world's worst dressers who are like airwalk stuff, like the worst dressed humans on the planet, like living like the shittiest fucking popcorn ceiling, vertical fucking blind, having apartments in studio, like in fucking Valley Village. All these fucking Twitter comedians, these guys are just so fucking salty. And you know what was fucked up about that? And even though it was kind of fun, I got chased by the paparazzi, like they're chasing me in a car, like I felt like a fucking hot boy star. It was kind of fun, but it was just about money. That's all it was about. I had gone out to LA and I had sold I wrote a book, and I had optioned my book and got this huge deal. Comedy Central. And honestly, no one said shit to me ever, not one time about any of this until they felt like I was like, had taken it off the internet and had fringed into like the real life space of like TV. And like, then all of a sudden they were like, oh, hold on, this is not okay. And these Gen X dorks named like, they're all named like Greg, you know what I mean? They're like fucking outraged over this. And it's just about, it was all about money. They didn't care about the jokes. By the way, where is the outrage? That's all that happens on the internet now. Not only did it not get better after me, it actually just became the entire internet. And like, where is the outrage by the fucking all the crusty comedians now? It was just about the fucking money. I was in their lane. I was getting the pilot they should have gotten or whatever it was, and they were just ready to Geffen style buff fuck me into an early grave.
And then you were just like, all right, I'll give them the fucking credit. I'll say, let me know who. I don't give a shit. I'm not pretending I created the fucking meme in the first place.
Yeah, and honestly, it was wild because it was a vocal majority. There were a billion people who were texting me, hitting me, being like, this is so dumb. But again, people knew that they didn't want to like pop their head out. And like, they're all hoes. There were some notable guys that I know who were hitting me being like, this is the most dumb shit I've ever seen. I hate it. But you know, I'm too much of a pussy. I'm not going to pop my head up and do anything about it, which by the way, I can totally respect. I thought the whole thing was ridiculous. I got into a fucking huge argument with Dan Rather where I called him because he's a
fucking Karen. Dan Rather's a fucking Karen.
I did something.
He's been exposed.
And we said to them, I was like, yo, don't ask me about this dumb shit. And they were like, we're not going to ask you about it. The minute I got on, Dan Rather asked me about it. Okay. And I answered in the moment, like played nice. And we stopped the cameras and I was like, you are a fucking crusty fuck. First of all, what has happened to your career? You were literally the America's anchorman, and now you're interviewing me in like a wing place, like in like a Buffalo Wild Wings for your web show. You fucking jizz dust. You are an absolutely ancient piece of shit. So that was fun. I got a lot out of the experience, but you know, I do think that was one of the earlier kind of examples of like what we see now, like so fucking frequently. And then it was interesting too, like people start piling on, you know, just to like get some shine. My intern, who was a girl, because I was, thank God, you know, if this had happened, this stuff can't happen now, but I always had interns and I would make them do ridiculous shit, you know. Everything from innocuous stuff like go out and find me the biggest sunflower you come back. I'm like, not nearly big enough.
Kind of like Diddy on Making the Band.
Kind of like Diddy on Making the Band.
Not where your similarities end.
That's probably right. And so, you know, this particular intern, she was awesome. She's from New Jersey. She had no dad. And like, she just was like down to like do whatever she wanted to. She knew what she was getting into by being my intern. And I put her in a jacuzzi and we made ramen noodles. We cooked it in the hot water and we're filling it with and she gets in it naked. And then she was like, I loved her. She was a maniac. We had this ramen bath experience that like kind of got a little bit of virality on the internet. During the cancellation time, she comes out and she's like, he's like also like, you know, he coerced me to do this. And I'm like, bitch, first of all, no, I did not. You were so down because and so it was just interesting that she's writing like a piece on like Medium about how like, you know, I'm like treated her like a sex slave by making, and I was just like, fuck, nothing.
Bro, it's man, what a weird. Here's the thing. We're past that phase. Look, it doesn't happen as often, but the internet for about 7 years or so was just this fucking cesspool of controversies and pile-ons and victimhood and claim. It's like all these things that you like. Here's what always got to me was like, for so long was the whole idea of like you were supposed to try to show how much things in the world didn't bother you. Like that was the marker of character. It was like, oh, don't feel victimized by everything that happens in every aspect of your life. And then for 7 weeks, we just put all that on ice, and everybody tried to get their clout, all their social currency from showing how much of a victim they were. And now it's definitely the last 18 to 24 months, it's decreased a little bit. It's definitely that doesn't run as hot. I'm wondering if it was the Amber Heard thing with Amber Heard trying to run that game and running smack into a 10 million, like into bankruptcy, where she like, you know, listen, I think Depp did some stuff that was wrong. She did some stuff that was wrong, but she tried, she thought, okay, wait a second, I can mooch clout off being another victimized woman. And then just like the Johnny Depp society, like mankind's collective regard for Johnny Depp just said, okay, no way, this has been taken too far, and slapped her like, you need to be punished for this. And all of a sudden, people are thinking twice before and trying to create some controversy over their victimization.
Yeah, I think, people got exhausted, right? Which is fucked up. Which is fucked up in a way because it doesn't allow for the real stories that actually need to be taken seriously.
It's not healthy.
Actually are fucked up. Everyone's too fucking tired to listen now. Everyone's it's enough. It's just enough. Everyone's fucking overserved. Everyone's overstimulated. And I think it's good because it's happening less, but it is fucked up because some stories don't get heard. I mean, look, I've actually
people have been desensitized to it all.
I've actually never talked about it, and I think this might be highly illegal on my part because I think I signed an NDA. But when my wine company got bought by Anheuser-Busch, and I was integrated into their corporate system, they signed me to a 2-year earn-out, and I had to like work for them. So now I'm like, I go from being the head of my own little crazy little company where I've got interns jousting with dildos and whatnot. Now I'm up at Anheuser-Busch, and I look, I know the rules. I know we can't dildo joust. I know I can't rollerblade around the office in a thong anymore. That's obvious now that I'm playing by the corporate rules. But what ended up, long story short, I have incredible fucked up photos on my phone. I've sent you a couple of them, whether it's a guy with his dick caught in a bicycle chain or, like all these ridiculous that just sort of make you ask yourself, why are people like this? And
exactly. How did I get myself into this? Yeah.
Where is this person and what are they doing? And so they're never of me. It's never mine. And so I developed a relationship with someone who worked for me. It was a dude. And we had fun. We did, he was part of the social media team and XYZ. And I would send him these photos as part of our conversation. So we're talking about an event we're doing. And then just to sort of sign off, I sent him a picture of, 5 guys fucking a pumpkin. We had this kind of relationship. He's at our events, like twerking and shit. Like this dude was lit. Like he joined the company and told me in the interview process that he wanted to be part of, and I was very upfront. I was like, you shouldn't come to this company. This was before we got bought. You shouldn't come to this company if you don't want to, we're wild. We're irreverent. We're not gonna go over the line, like really over the line, but you know what you're getting yourself into. He joined the company. He loved it. And then once we got into the corporate system, he realized that Anheuser-Busch, that he could go and he could just say that I sexually harassed him by sending him a picture of 5 guys fucking a pumpkin. And he complained to HR and then he ended up suing me because he knew. And because the laws protecting homosexuals in New York are super stringent, which, by the way, they should be, because a ton of fucking fucked up shit happens. But then you've got guys like this who abuse the system and fuck everything up for the people who actually need those protections. And it was fucked up. And this dude caught a fat ass check. Am I allowed to show a picture on this podcast?
Yeah, I mean, it'll be on YouTube.
Okay, ready? I'm going to do it quick, and then we'll switch back. Ready?
Sounds good. Okay,
that was it.
Yeah, that's bad. It's both photos of Nick Cage, obviously.
And I thought, no, that was my Uncle Bruce. And I thought to myself, like, this is fucked up because we can never get it right. First, there aren't enough people who are getting outraged about things, and things get out of control, and people get hurt, and people get mistreated. Now we go too far the other way, and we protect everyone so stringently that now people abuse the system.
Yeah, and it's nonstop. It's not because now the culture is about victimhood and abusing the system in that regard, right? That's the culture that is now ingrained. That's how all American institutions work. And I'm sorry, it's like these supposed guardrails to protect people. Don't give me that the world, American society was just the Middle Ages, the Dark Ages up until about 2016, where everyone was just being mistreated. It was like, no, things were going along just fine without these rules to protect people.
I said to Budweiser's lawyers, I said, guys, he wasn't offended by this. Know this. Look at the text messages. This was our relationship. We were having fun.
Yeah.
Like, he was telling me about him and his boyfriend taking Molly and like all this shit. And they were like, dude, I know, but like, this is like how it is. Like, just this. And I was like, I understand, this is wrong, but like, he can stand like, this is just how things are now. And I was like, look, that's kind of fucked up. So if anyone out there wants me to, hold on, I'm going to check. Should I give out my number?
It's all up to you, man.
Should I give my phone number out?
It's all you. Yeah, that's a personal decision.
I'm gonna do it. I'll do it at the end. But that was fucked up, and I was kind of proud to be sued for sexual harassment for that because I didn't actually hurt anyone or do anything or anything like that. It's really fucked up, like that people can just abuse the system. I know he didn't care. I know he saw a check and he went after it. And it's just being outraged. There's so much to gain from it now, whether it being attention or money or whatever the fuck it is, right?
Yeah, it's suffocating. It's really suffocating, and like on the one, it's weird because the internet was the first layer because, yes, technically everybody gets to see each other, right? It's one big whole surveillance system. But the surveillance system society and attitude has gone beyond just the internet. It's invaded, if you imagine going to college in this day and age. I mean, I can't imagine it's a pleasant experience, or at least not nearly as pleasant as it was back in the day, but just like suffocating in every which shape and form. And listen, a little bit of that, I think, as we've discussed, a little bit of that has loosened up the last couple of years. Some people have gotten tired of it, but a lot of it is also baked into the system. And so, listen, we'll see. It's going to be interesting. Of course, it's going to be interesting to see how this stuff develops with Diddy, what is revealed about that world, the kind of down low, undercover, everybody, hidden in plain sight, hip hop community and the stuff that goes on behind closed doors. I don't think, as I said before, it's not going to be Epstein, Illuminati. Wait, Barack Obama's at one of his parties and he's not telling about it to protect the high priest above. It's going to be more garden variety. Puffy flew in a couple male porn stars from Tuscaloosa and, it made sure that whoever the girls weren't leaving, even if they said that they were done, type of thing.
The big male, the blossoming male porn star scene in Tuscaloosa.
Exactly. It's if I'm an expert on anything, that would be it. Man, I mean, what are you up to these days? What's on the horizon for you?
Well, now that I'm sort of, I still I'll post on Instagram. I'm down. I'm still down to do some shit. But for the most part now, I try to actually build businesses. And actually part of that is, can be about giving back to these kids also, because now I'm on the other side. The brands were bringing me in to promote their shit. And now I can bring these kids in to help promote my shit. And so the thing that I am getting into now is that I just bought a monster truck league. I'm trying to get into sports entertainment. Because after I sold my company, I took a couple of years off and was like, let me try to be a real human being for a couple of years. Because everything I had ever done up until 2020 had basically been for the look. Yeah. I never had done anything sincere or real. And so I had a kid on purpose.
The Fat Jew's got a kid. The Fat Jew has some progeny.
So fucked up, honestly.
Yeah, what's going on with that? Jesus
I showed you some of the content.
I haven't seen the content yet, but I wonder what your Saturday dad activity is. Where in South Florida are you bringing your kid for a nice, wholesome developmental activity?
Oh, dude, honestly, wait, I'm gonna check. Because look, I was my whole thing is why am I gonna have one of these things? Unless I'm gonna get some content out of it.
Sure.
And so
even this is for the content.
Yeah, it's all for the content. So even within me trying to be a real person and have a kid and take it seriously. He's obviously going to be in $600 an hour therapy extremely soon, but we all are. Do it right, do it wrong. We're all fucked up. No matter.
You might as well at least have a following out of his $600 an hour. That'll probably be $1,000 by then.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. And so here, I'll make this my background, but I've shot a ton of ridiculous content and it was kind of all fun and games. And my wife has been very much yo, you really you have to stop doing this stuff because he's going to go to school and he's going to repeat the shit that he's hearing. And now he's going to school and I'm deathly afraid of what he's going to say, because the things that he has heard me say are the things that I've had him say on FaceTimes with people and shit here, check it out. So
that's a nice, cute, normal, look at that. A nice, cute, normal child who happens to be smoking a Marlboro.
That's what, and also it's a Marlboro Light. It's responsible parenting.
Yeah, 100%. But absolutely.
Interestingly enough, I shoot this. I'm shooting all this crazy content, and then he goes. Now he can talk. He was younger in that photo. He goes up to a cashier at Gelson's, in LA, the one in Franklin Village. So you're not over there.
Yeah, no, I do my best to avoid that area.
Not the one by La Poubelle. Like, get the fuck.
I know that like nice pseudo trendy white people trying to pretend an area is not poor.
Totally.
Yeah, I get it.
And he went up to the cashier and he just point blank said, "I smoke cigarettes and my dad takes pictures." And the woman was like, "What?" And I was like, and my wife was like, "Yo, this is what the fuck, like CPS is going to come and like, and we're gonna, and like if CPS shows up because of your performative bullshit, we're gonna fucking leave you." And so now I'm a little bit nervous, but in general, after 2020, I like decided to take life a little bit seriously and live offline for a minute and like also kind of get back to doing shit just to do it. You know what I mean? Like at this point, we're so addicted to every moment of everything has to be broadcast. And I went to Japan. I went to Japan twice and got into some unbelievable shit that probably should have been on the internet. Like if I'm gonna eat mushrooms and watch robots like fuck each other, like I should. But I wanted to get back to just being like, you can live and do sick shit. Not everything has to be online.
Yeah. You needed to renaturalize a little bit, get back to your primitive influencer state, get back to that kid, roaming the streets of New York City, just convincing homeless people to just do undignified things like most Upper West Side private school kids from Manhattan were.
That's right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Can I pay you $10 to wipe your testicles on my father's car door handle because he's parked on the street? Hey, hobo. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, to get back to that. That's exactly right. I had to get back to my roots,
absolutely back to the roots.
And now I'm kind of back to, I've had enough of like actually trying to be a human. And now I'm coming back out, bought this monster truck league, trying to get into sports entertainment, compete with Monster Jam. They're the only show in town. And I'm going to be like sort of the Vince McMahon of the monster truck scene. So I'll be, on top of a monster truck in a thong screaming on a microphone. And I feel like that, that's something I can only be away from that for so long.
Exactly. That was your eventual destiny. That was where you were always gonna wind up. And you've got a couple more phases, right? You're not done. Like I said, you were part of the first wave. Now you're the elder statesman, a father, God knows what. You're going to aside for reinventing the OnlyFans game, you're going to show that the kids what's possible there. It's like, wait a second, Marta from Budapest, you don't have to flame out after 24 months. You're going to show all the kids what's possible.
That's right. I'm for the kids. You know what I'm saying? I'm really for the kids.
The fat Jew is for the kids. And
I'll tell actually, I have a quick story I want to tell. Because I see real gold I don't do a lot of podcasts. So I have like all this fucking gold. Like all these guys just like work the podcast circuit now. There's
sure. I was looking, I was like, wait a second, I feel very privileged. You haven't done that many podcasts.
Oh, I have not. I did a podcast. I did a podcast not long ago, Pop Culture Podcast, because I really like the girl who does it, and she's like,
she was cool.
Yeah, she's lit and funny and like Jewish, like just reminds me of so many girls that I've gotten hand jobs from. And
the time the Jews had a win, yeah,
right, totally. So, but other than that, these guys are just like everything is just like just on a million podcasts. Anyway, I saved all the gold to give it to you. So
love it. Let's hear it.
So there is, I'll leave them unnamed as of now, but there is a celebrity that you've all heard of. Who came up to me. I was like, we were hanging out like in a group setting, and this dude was on the most coke. Like he was just on and he just wanted to talk so bad. And similar to Wardy Joubert's brother, he came up to me. We got into like sort of a really like we're really feeling each other. We're vibing and we're talking. And he says to me like, "Jew, I know I can trust you, right?" And I'm like, no, like again, I'm like, no, this guy should know, because Wardy Joubert's brother, he didn't know that much about me. This guy knows people who know me. He should know. And he's like, I just feel like, like we have so many friends in common. Like, I just feel like I can really tell you anything. And I was like, dude, this is a huge mistake.
Yeah.
But like, okay. He then proceeded to tell me, okay, and this person, you'll be able to figure out who it is based on the story, I think. But they basically told me that Adam Duritz from Counting Crows. Okay. So Adam Duritz was known for his like funky hairstyle, right?
White guy with the dreads. Yeah.
Right. Meanwhile, Adam Duritz only like bedded the most beautiful one. Like he really
an undercover stud, a surprising stud, maybe number one on that list.
Because every woman like kind of wants to think that like a dude playing acoustic guitar, like you would think it was cheese, but like that, like apparently it works.
Sure.
Anyway, Adam Duritz was famous for his dreads. Apparently about 10 years ago or more, Adam Duritz decided he wanted to cut his hair. His management said to him, "This is a bad idea. You're going to lose your identity." Because Counting Crows is way bigger still than I even knew. They went on tour recently. They're packing arenas.
Really?
They're packing arenas. So his management team is like, "Please don't do this." He's like, "I don't want to have the dreads anymore on." They're like, "You're going to lose your identity." So what does he do? He cuts the dreads off and he has them turned into a wig. Okay? Has them turned into a wig. And then when he gets home, he takes it off, he puts it on the fucking table. And when he's doing any appearances, he wears the thing. About 2-3 years ago, he publicly cut it and stopped wearing the wig because, like, I guess finally they thought it was okay. But there was a 10-year period almost where he was wearing a wig of his own hair. And the giveaway on who it is that Adam Duritz used to fuck Jennifer Aniston.
Yes, he did.
And Jennifer Aniston was married to the person that I heard this from.
Tate Donovan.
Whoa. Wait.
Yeah.
Is Tate Donovan from the OC?
I think he was on the OC.
Hell yeah.
Who else? Was Jennifer Aniston married to anybody else? Was she married? All right, people can do their own research on that. But yeah, listen, we needed the obscure story about the kind of Gen X, like, annoying white guy who somehow got laid a lot, Adam Duritz, and the fucking and the wig of all the memories that he absorbed while fucking all those women.
I'm just bringing all the heat. I just want to give you
from Kareem Rush to Adam Duritz to P. Diddy, man. We covered the entire spectrum of the last 50 years of pop culture on this one. Not unexpected. I mean, this is way overdue.
We didn't talk about you enough, though. I'm just gonna say we did not. We didn't really talk enough about you being a fucking Palisades Erewhon with some dude abs up to his lips eating a bowl of fucking ground beef and blueberries or whatever. Like, how many fucking hot dudes do you know? My crew, everyone in my crew is fucking hideous.
I'm an egotistical guy, man. I'm trying to keep glamorous, good-looking people around. I mean, if not doing so, kind of depresses me, if I'm being honest.
You know what, though? I really fuck with this. Is why one of the reasons I really fuck with you is because a guy like you, who's got like good bone structure, and
thank you.
A lot of times, a guy like that or a girl like that will have her crew or his crew be busted, so that
don't want that.
They can be the top fucking dog. I mean, that's a standard. Having an unfuckable crew so that you look even hotter compared.
No, I don't want to be the big fish in the small pond. I do not want. I want to be the least dope person in the room. Like, I want to get elevated by association as opposed to having to drag other people up or have them drag me down. Absolutely. And it's like, let's be honest. I mean, I want to construct my life not to be around losers, right? Isn't that the whole idea? That's what I've done this entire time. That's the fucking objective.
You just know so many hunks. We talked about this. That are so many optimizing hunks. Like getting.
Yeah, I don't mind the competition. Like, one friend of mine said, like, the thing that he likes the most about gay guys is they take away competition. There's a bunch of like, whatever my thoughts on that would be. It's like, no, I don't really care. I'll take the competition. I don't mind even losing to the competition. Sometimes it's like, I want to be around, growing up in Beverly Hills, but being like more of a middle class kid. I was like, all right, I want to be I want to be one of the boats that the tide rises and brings up. That's the lifestyle that I'm looking for.
Right. So
No
every
doubt.
time, like, I'm just like, God, like, how many fucking smoke shows does this dude roll with? And apparently, by your own admission, they're all named Matt. So it's just it's just a giant pack of hunks named Matt who are like cold plunging.
No.
That's that's how I see your crew. Which,
like,
by the way,
100%. Older millennial cold plunging biohacker dudes named Matt who have memberships at Air One and do triangulate between Westlake Palisades and only the Beverly Hills location. No longer go to the OG West Hollywood location because, once again, that's a shithole. That is my crew. That's my lane. I'm staying in that lane.
How many guys do you know that have like the dick lines, like I mean, gay guys call them cum gutters. How many guys do you have those?
I do not. I listen, Jewish. Okay, I don't. But I have gravitated. One of my crews is the like old school USC blonde surfer guy, cool guy crew that I was probably not cool enough to be friends with when I was in college. But like by the time I was in my 30s, like, all right, we've all converged now, and they've got like waning. Their abs are waning, but you can still tell they were cool surfer guys who were young, and just like that's an alliance. Like the coiffed hair Jewish, like good looking Jewish boy crew, and that crew have now combined.
And those guys have fucking cum gutters.
Yes, they did. They were defining the CG. Yeah, they were defining the CG exactly. And now we'll see if they can maintain it into their adulthood and with their Erewhon memberships.
Well, listen, congratulations on never going fucking east of La Cienega.
Yeah, I'm gonna do my best, dude. It might go not east of Doheny, dude. That's how much we're consolidating here.
I mean, you're gonna. The line is just going to keep. You're going to be in the ocean eventually.
Yeah, I'm going to be at the 405. I'm going to be at the 405, but not west of the 405. I'm literally just going to be living between the right and left lane on the 405 soon enough.
Oh, actually, you know what? There's a Zanku right there on Sepulveda. So
there is. It could. We'll see what the family controversy behind that is. I wouldn't even say where can they find you on the internet. You are the internet. The Fat Jew here to tell us any number of, giving us all the fucking tea, spilling all the tea on celebrity culture over the last 30 years. His unique insight into the controversy around Sean Combs, P. Diddy, also known on the indictment from the Department of Justice as Love, which I always found interesting. And this cannot be the last time we do this. Once I get out to Miami, I'm going to accompany you for some daddy daycare shit. We're going to go do normal dad stuff, but obviously put a demented sheen on it one way or the other. I promise you that.
There's a lot my child can learn from you, and I think that it can. There's a strip club that does a really nice Caesar salad. They do
sure.
they have a great lunch menu. So we can really go, and I would love for you to mentor him a little bit. It's a lot he could learn from you.
I will be the West Coast mentor to the Fat Jews kid. I know that was the destiny I was always aimed for. But everybody, you guys know where you can find the Fat Jew on the internet. Thank you so much for joining us. And once again, we'll get part 2 of this on the South Florida version in Miami, come Art Basel or something like that. But everybody, this is the Prevailing Narrative. That is the Prevailing Narrative for this week. Once again, you can find this podcast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. You want to hear more about what I have to say, follow me on my socials at Matt Bilinsky, MattBilinsky, Twitter and Instagram primarily. Everybody, this is the Prevailing Narrative.